Okay, good morning. So today we will advance to the next level of your project, which is the modeling. So as you can see, kaning mga items nga na indicate dinhi are combinations of object-oriented and traditional modeling, right? So yeah, so before anything else, let's discuss the modeling system requirements. So the analyst describes information system requirements using a collection of models. Mo to siya akong gi-mention natin ginatawag og traditional nga modeling, and then we also have the object-oriented modeling. So complex systems require more than one type of model. No, okay, there are viewers, or there are people nga concerned sa imong system nga dili kaayo into graphical presentation. Some are into text, no? Mas ganahan sila naibasahon. Ang uban pod mas ganahan sila mathematical nga modeling. So the model represents some aspect of system being built. So the process of creating models will help the analyst, not only the analyst, but the other members of the team, no, sa inyong programming team, sa development team, na makasabot or ma-clarify, ma-refine ang inyong design. So it could also assist communication with the system users. Okay, of course, dili na sila techie parehas sa ato ang atong knowledge in terms of modeling, in terms of the technicalities sa IT. So wala sila ana. So reasons for modeling, kani siya nga slides by the way na balik-balik na ni nako gamit, pero ibalik lang gihapon nato na murag nagamit nato ni sa inyong enterprise architecture. So reasons for modeling. So we have learning from modeling process. Another is we can reduce the complexity by abstraction and remembering all of the details. Of course, kay documentation man yung ginatawag nato nga modeling. Communicating with other development team members. Say for instance, ni kalitlag absent ang isa ka team member, and what if um, kailangan na urgent na ang development, no? So at least naamoy basis nga matanaw para ma-pursue ang development. Communicating with a variety of users and stakeholders, and documenting what was done for the future maintenance and enhancement. So there are again different types of modeling na atong mention. We have mathematical formulas, descriptive, graphical. So this is an example of descriptive nga model. Yeah. And then what else? Skip na natin yan. These are the examples of graphical modeling. Yan. And then one requirement sa modeling is you need to know what are events, activities, and use cases. Okay, so kung tanawon mo lang tatlo ka mga terms, pare-pareho ra yang giminana. Okay, it is an activity the system performs in response to a user request. A case is where the system is used by the actor. So basically, kung mo kang use case, that belongs to the object-oriented approach to modeling. What else? Techniques for identifying use cases. So identify user goal. Kung sa ang gusto nimo nga ma-achieve sa system nga involve ang imong user. So each goal at the elementary business process level is a use case. What else? We also have the event decomposition techniques and the crude analysis technique. We have the create, read, update, and delete. So part na siya sa atong mga activities nga dapat dili mawala sa imong information systems. So yeah. So mo ni siya example sa mga use cases and actors. So we have order clerk, that's the actor, and shipping clerk, merchandising manager, and these are our use cases. Like we need to look up an item availability, create an order, update an order, and etc. Okay, skip na natin yung iba, yung mga importante lang. We also have, ayan. So again, we have things in the problem domain. So unsa maning things? Ayan, there are types of things nga possibly included sa inyong modeling. So we have the thing tangible, natay role played. No? So parts of tangible things are airplane, books, vehicles, document, worksheets. So basically, mao ni siya ang sometimes mo act as our elements, no? Kaning mga things na gina-mention nato. Sometimes sila ang source sa imuhang data nga gusto ipaprocess sa system nga imong i-develop. Then we also have roles played, like for instance, employee, customer, doctor, patient, end user, system administrators. We also have organizational units, division, department, common nga mga names nila, but in modeling pwede nimo na i-specific no, like unsa nga department, CCIS, IS. We also have devices nga pwede nga ma-integrate sa atong modeling, like sensors, timers, controllers, and others. We also have sites and locations, incidents, events, and interactions. So there are procedures for developing an initial list of things. Step 1, using the event table and information about each use case, identify all nouns. So kapag ka naa gani kay makita nga noun sa imuhang description or sa process mo na to siya ang no-act as your things. Step 2, using other information from existing systems, current procedure or current reports or forms, add items or categorize the information needed. And then you need to refine and record the assumptions or issues to explore. Okay, another requirements kung mag-model ka, dapat kabalo ka sa mga relationship. So, unsa relation ani nga thing to the other thing. Okay? Here sa relationship, so na kay makita din nga mga cardinalities and multiplicities. Say for instance, a student to a teacher nga relationship. So, pwede ka pwede nimo ma-relate nga si teacher can teach one or many students. So aside from relationship, kailangan po natin i-consider ang iyang attributes. So importante si attribute because mo na ni siya ang gamito nato nga item dito sa atong entity relationship diagram. Okay? Mo na ni siya ang basihan nato para maka-create og table sa ato ang information system. So this is a one specific piece of information about a thing. Okay? Ayan, this is an example of relationship. So we have an order is placed by someone who works in accounting department. Ayan. Okay, so for the cardinality, mo ni siya itong mention. I know nga gidiscuss na po ni sa inyo sa inyong information management ni subject. So we will not tackle this in a very detailed nga manner. Okay, this are the examples of attributes. So, mao ni atong attributes. And when we talk of the values, mao ni siya. So, possibly, kaning imong attribute nga gi-mention din naa na siya different nga values, right? Okay, so for example, first name. So, we have 3 items or 3 values sa first name. Na si John, Mary, and Bill. Okay. So, ayun, naputay data entities, mauna ni siya si katong things nga gina-mention nato, no? We also have objects. So, basically, kani akong gipakita sa inyo slides. These are the modeling requirements for the traditional and object-oriented approach. So, kaning object na term din is the object-oriented equivalent of the things mentioned a while ago. Okay, so kung sa object-oriented approach we have these terms like class, object, methods, encapsulations, and so on and so forth. Ayan. Okay. So we have a sample of entity relationship diagram. So kani is ni balik na po siya sa traditional, right? So this is the cardinality. As mentioned, a customer can place 0 or more orders. Kani siya, an order must be placed by exactly one customer. So, makita nimo nga naay relationship ang customer to the order nga entity. Okay. So, for the symbols, pag ingani siya mo ni atong pasabot, exactly 1, mandatory. This is 0 or more, 1 or more, 0 or 1. Okay, so this is an expanded example of your ERD. Okay. Ayan, this is ERD with many-to-many relationship. Ayan. So again, the class diagram is part of our object-oriented approach. Ayan. So class diagram, mura lang siya og equivalent ni ERD if naata sa object-oriented approach. Si ERD na siya sa traditional na approach. Ayan, ingani lang kalahian nila. So naalay specification sa 1, 0, unya asterisk na symbol. Ayan. So basically sa inyong modeling na activity or sa portion sa inyong modeling ingani ang mahitabo no. Natay kuhaon nga part sa traditional approach na pud gikuha ang item part sa object-oriented approach. So ingani lang ang dagan sa modeling nato. So naakay dapat ma-identify nato ang events, use cases, and event table, no? So natay things, and things can be modeled into entity relationship diagram or class diagram. This is the equivalent of ERD sa object-oriented approach. So context diagram, the equivalent for that for the object in the object-oriented approach is the use case, and so on and so forth. So to sum up, these are the differences of traditional and object-oriented approach to modeling. Kapag ka mogamit ta og traditional approach, so the system is collected, or the system there is a collection of processes, and then processes interact with data entities, and processes accept inputs and produce outputs. But kung object-oriented approach atong gamiton, ang system diha is a collection of interacting objects, and objects interact with people and each other. Object sends and responds to a messages. Again, balik lang ako gamay, no? So, naatay traditional nga approach to modeling, and then we also have object-oriented approach to modeling. But that doesn't mean nga buhaton nato tanan nga traditional, and then buhaton pud nato tanan nga object-oriented. So, kung makita nato sa ato ang na to. Kita nato dinhi sa ato ang atong template. So, naalang tay context diagram, DFD, and expanded. And then we also have a use case diagram, and then ERD. So, murag si use case lang ang nalahi din hino. So, siya lang po ang nakuha nato sa object-oriented nga approach. So, wala na ta ang class diagram, si entity relationship diagram natang i-follow. Okay, so when we talk of data flow diagrams, it is the graphical system model that shows all the main requirements of an IS in one diagram. So basically, ang DFD has input and output, and processes and data storage. So kana lang no, kapag ka na-identify na nimo ni siya, pwede na ka mag-create og DFD, no? So mo to nga rason pod nga kailangan nga gipag-define sa nako sa inyo haon sa tong mga processes, unsa tong mga entities para ready na mo for modeling nga part. So DFD, it is an easy to read and understand with minimal training. Yeah, kay kung wa kay training, maglisod man gihapon kag buhat sa imong DFD. So these are the symbols if we wanted to create or to design a data flow diagram. We have the rounded square for the processes. Data flow. Take note of the description when we say data flow. It is a data flowing from one place to place, such as an input or output to a process. Pasabot, ang label nato dinhi sa atong data flow should be data. We also have external agent or ginatawag natong entity, no? the source na siya or the destination of data outside the system. We also have the symbol for data store or your table, not the database ha, kay imo na siyang i-expand. Ang i-consider nato sa DFD are the table names, not the name of your database. No? Okay. Sometimes man gud mabutang ka dito database number 1, database number 2. So meaning to say sa isa ka system nimo daghan kag database. No? So by default isa lang gid ka database and then daghan lang kag tables dito. We also have symbols for real-time link. Yan. Okay, this is an example of DFD fragment showing use case lookup item availability. So this is the process, no? And then we have an entity, and then we also have 3 data stores. So a customer inquires for an item. So ang system, ang buhaton niya is to look for the item availability. And if asa niya tanawon niya sa catalog, tanawon niya sa product item, tanawon niya sa inventory item. Okay, pero wala niya gipakita nga na ay link dito. Anyways, pareho naman siya interpretation. And then pag nakita na ni system, ayan, ipakita niya sa customer, this is the available nga item sa imong gipangita. Okay, so if we will dissect the TFD, so mo ni siya ang nahitabo, no? So this ang atong customer can be the source or can be the destination. Mo ni atong external agent. So we also have data flows. Kani siya item inquiry, item availability. So mas maayo kaning item ang imong tawagon ang imong ibutang dinhi is item name, pwede rin na siya. And this is our use case or our process kung nato sa traditional na approach. This is the response and this is the trigger if you wanted to if you want something to be fulfilled by the system. So mo niya itong mga data stores. What else? Okay, so again, CDFD are decomposed into additional diagrams to provide multiple levels of details. Higher level diagram provides generic view of the system. We also have lower level diagram provides detailed view of the systems. That's the reason nga natin ginatawag na expanded, level 0. So kapag expanded mo na to ang pinaka-detailed or ang lower level sa iyang diagram na makita pa yun ang very detailed sa system. Okay, differing view are called level of abstraction. Okay, so we have this layer of DFD abstraction for course registration system. So mo ang atong information system nga buhaton. So prior to DFD, dapat napod kay gibuhat nga context diagram wherein ang makita diha is katong top level view lang sa atong system. So basically ang makita diha are entities and one process. Katong generic, katong pinaka name sa imong system. So again, so natay context diagram, natay course registration system as our information system, and we have 3 entities. So we have faculty, academic department, and student. So unsay process niya. So what if si student mag-request siya enrollment? So wala nagpasabot nga diretso na siya na schedule no. So para kung mag-request siya enrollment, kailangan niya og enrollment schedule data which will be provided to the system by the academic departments. And if na-process na ni course registration, automatically mag-send siya og class list sa atong faculty members as the teacher. And then with that, ma-return na dahil sa atong student ang schedule if enrollment request iyahang gusto. So kapag buhatan nato na siya og so for the DFD diagram 0, so gi-expand na nato ang isa ka process lang. So naka-create ta og process 1, schedule course, process 2, enroll student, and process 3, producing of class list. So based pud sa iyang context diagram, mao lang pud ang iyang gipangayo, right? Maka-produce siya class list. And si academic department nakahatag og schedule. So kung nato asa siya nahisulod. So not siya process 1, we have schedule course. So kung tanawa na to, we have academic department, naghatag siya data for scheduling. So if we will compare that to the context diagram, same ang data flow nga label niya. We have schedule data, and then for the diagram, 0 schedule data. So once nihatag na siya data, automatically kaning process will enable that data to be stored in the offered subject course nga table. Okay? Next process is natay enroll student. So para mabuhat na to ang enroll process, dapat na i-trigger nga request from a student. So para ma-process niya ang enrollment ni student, this process has to get some details from the offered course, no, para makuha niya itong schedule data. So mo to'y gamito ni process para ma-facilitate niya ang enrollment sa student. Aside from that, kailangan po niya kuhaon ang pangalan sa student, right? Para ma-facilitate niya itong student. Pero, ang question na ako ani is, asa ta nagpasulod og data sa student, no? Murag maka-question ka ba nga, naay nigawas nga mga data dinhi pero walay ni sulod. So isa na ka issue ani nga diagram. So dapat dili ko kamo as analyst, kamo as software engineer, dapat di ninyo makaligtaan na kay basin bagon sa man nag-input ra diretso diha. Wa na ilawod sa system ang pagbutang sa details dinhi sa kaninga table. Yan. So, okay, balikan na nato. Basta kay para ma-facilitate si enrollment sa student, so kailangan siya mo-get og name sa estudyante, kinsa to siya, and then kung saan sa tong offered og mga schedule. So with that, makahatag siya schedule sa atong student. So pag nabuhat na niya tong enrollment, automatically i-save po niya siya sa katong course enrollment. Proof na kani nga sa estudyante naka-enroll siya ani nga mga subjects and kani nga mga schedules. So kapag mag-print na ta og class list, dinhi na po siya makuha og data patungo kay faculty. Okay, so kung natay diagram 0, pwede po nato na pag-gid siya i-expand, right? Pwede na tawag og diagram 1. This is a fragmented na nga, expanded na nga DFD. So gi-expand na po nato si process 1. So pag expanded na siya, na siya 1.1 to indicate nga kani siya nga mga processes are from this process, no? So para na-expand nimo na, naka-create tag tatlo ka process, choose day and time, ma-assign tag faculty, on ma-assign tag room. Okay, so wala po na appeal diri sa iyahang proseso ang pag-assign sa faculty, right? Basig manual pa to siya nga part. Okay, so kung tanawon ninyo si offered course and offered mao ni siya ang atong gi-expand, no? Okay, next. Okay, balikan na to si context diagram na ulahi. DFD that summarizes all processing activity for a system or subsystem. So basically, DFD hapon si context diagram, pero specific name niya is context diagram. This is the highest, most abstract view of your system. It shows the system boundary. The scope is represented by a single process or the external agent, and all data flows into and out the system. So the fragments are created for each use case in the event table, pero there are use cases po nga pwede na nimo dili i-fragment kung klaro na no, kung makita na sa kadto nga view pa lang or kadto nga level pa lang ang iyahang proseso. So it represents system responses to one event with a single process symbol. So self-contained model, it focuses attention on a single part of the system, and it shows only data stores required in the use case. Okay, what is this? This is a DFD fragment for the course registration system. So, maura man yung gihapon. So, natay schedule to look a process. Ayan, proceed na ta. Skip na nato na. Okay, skip na natin yan. So this is an example of a context diagram. So pag ingani naka-complicated, tarungon lang gid ninyo ga-analyze kay daghan na kaayong entities nga involved. And situate nga kung unsa tong data nga inyong gipa-flow sa atong data flow nga link or arrow, same po to nga makita nato sa atong DFD later on. Okay. Ayan. Skip ko na yan. Kamo na tanawa na. Proceed ta sa, the example na po ni siya. Daghan kay siya tables. And then walay label. Sige lang. Sa inyo ha nga and dapat butangan nyo, mo niyo yung label tanan yung mga flows ha. Okay, so sa DFD natin ginatawag og physical and logical DFD. So logical models and gina-assume na ko nga ang buhaton ninyo sa inyong project is a logical model. It assumes implementation in perfect technology. It does not tell how system is implemented. Physical day. Dapat physical model lang inyong buhaton. So we also have physical model. It describes assumptions about implementation technology and developed in last stages of analysis or in early design. This is an example of DFD for scheduling courses. This is a physical modeling. And again, mauni siya ang dapat buhaton ninyo. So para medyo klaro, napad ko ipakita nga lain nga nato siya. Where is that? Nawala na. Wait a minute ala. Okay, basig maglibog mo sa di kalayan aning physical and logical data flow diagram. So when we say a logical DFD, it depicts how the business operates. Okay, how the business operates. The processes represents business activities. Data stores represents the collection of data regardless of how data are stored, and it is how business control. When we say physical, it depicts how the system will be implemented. No? Murag proseso na kung imuhang i-implement ang information system nga imuhang develop. The processes represents the program modules, and manual procedures. Data store represents physical file and databases and manual files. It shows control for validating input data and for obtaining a record, ensuring successful completion of a process for system security. So, let's proceed to the example. So, kung makita na to ang physical nga DFD tanawa. So we have form inputted to the system. So, bill checks form, and then store sa master file. If i-convert nato na siya into a logical DFD, so naatay sales order ang ipasok na, and then validate sales order, and then valid sales order na store sa atong sales order. Okay. Another example, sa may mas klaro. So, kung taon ni mo, katong physical bitaw niya nga proseso, katong usual nga proseso sa atong business, mo to'y gibutang mo to'y ipakita nato sa ato ang logical, no? So, logical DFD eliminates physical processes, no? Tampa. Example, daily mail delivery. So, open the mail, retrieve the mail, mail order, register, and so on and so forth. Pero kung imo na siya i-convert into a logical, so we have customer order, record, customer order, and receive order. Okay. Okay, another example. Yeah, another example, we have identify item, look up prices, compute total, settle transaction, and issue receipt. So, iklaro na ko ha kay murag nagkabali-baliktad ang discussion. Supposedly, ang inyuhang buhatan og a model sa inyong project is on logical DFD, not on the physical aspect. Okay? Okay, how are you going to evaluate your DFD in terms of quality? So, kanila atong timan-an, dapat lang po readable ang ato ang DFD. So, internally consistent and balanced, accurately represent system requirements, reduce information overload. So, i-follow na to ang rule of 7 plus minus 2. So, ayan. So, 7 na ang pinaka-max na to nga number of processes. Ayan. Single DFD should not have more than 7 processes. No more than 7 plus minus data flows should enter or leave a process. Grabe po ng daghan kayo, no? And or data store in a single DFD minimizes required number of interfaces. Okay. So, okay, data flow consistency problem. Differences in data flow content between a process and its process decomposition. So, dapat kung mag-decompose ka or dapat kung mag-fragment ka or mag-expand ka, dapat i-refer gihapon na to sa pinaka-top level nga data flow nga gigamit na to. Dili pwede nga lahi ang imong gibutang sa context. Pag abot sa DFD level 0, lahi na po ang imong data flow. So, dapat pare-pareho na siya. Meaning to say, sa context level pa lang daan, sa context diagram pa lang nimo daan nga view, makita na dito tanan nga data flow nga included sa imuhang DFD o included sa information system nga imuhang buhaton. Data outflow without corresponding inflow. So later on makita natin sa mga examples. Data inflow without corresponding outflow. So sa akong gi-discuss earlier, daghan mong nakita nga mga flaws, right? Daghay mga kulang-kulang. So, ayan, kung dili siya consistent man good, it would result in unbalanced nga DFDs. So, for consistency rules, all data that flows into a process must flow out of the process or be used to generate data that flows out of the process. All data that flows out of the process must have flown into the process or have been generated from data that flown into the process. Okay, some another mga inconsistencies, no, na atay ginatawag black hole. Mo ni siya ang term sa process with unnecessary data input. So kung tanawa na to, this is the process na tay input nga new order ha. And then unsa may naadiri ko mag new order ko, ayan, nagkuha na pud siya og data sa order. Pagani naka-order si customer, dapat kani siya baliktad ang arrow ana. So, muna yung mga ginatawag og black hole, right? We also have miracle, so process with impossible data output. So, may data output din he. Yeah, so this is a process na output padulong sa faculty, but then, ang aggregation sa ihang data gikan lang sa student. Supposedly, kung class list imong result, of course, nailista sa student, but naapoy year and possibly naapoy schedule, no? What else? Process with unnecessary data input. So, ang process is to compute for X, no? Pero na siya input nga B and C and A. So, ayan, na siya mga inconsistencies sa ato ang mga designs nga dapat i-prohibit na to. Process with impossible data output. So, ang iyahang supposedly buhatan is to compute for the Y, no? Pero ang output niya na ay B. Ayan. So, matinga ka. Sorry. Ayan. So, mo siya ang mga considerations na kung mag-design ta sa inyong modeling na nga part. So, what else? So, pa na din ni. Okay na ni siya. So, structured English example. Yeah, pwede po ka magbuhat og descriptive nga type, no? Mga ginatawag na to og method of writing process specification. So, kung tanawon nimo ni siya, steps lang gihapon ni no kung unsay buhaton sa atong system, like collect all ballots, place all ballots in the stock, set yes count and no count to 0, and so on and so forth. Okay, we also have process description. So, kung mao ang imuhang ang graphical representation, so na siya equivalent pod nga process description. So, mao ni mahitabo. So, ask if a student has an account. If a customer has an account, then ask for identification of information, and so on and so forth. Okay, so na po tayo data flow definitions. New order is equivalent to what? So, sometimes magud lisod kaayo kung imong specify ang tanan nga mga attributes dito sa ila atong flow line. So, pwede nga panganlan na lang nato siya og isa ka term, pero ang composition niya kanina siya. So, new order is equivalent to customer name, customer address, credit card information, item number, and so on and so forth. Another products and items report is equivalent to this composition of attributes. Okay, so we also have data elements definition or data dictionary. So, imong ma-define diha kung sa dining unit in stock nga variable nimo or nga attribute nimo. So, it is a positive integer. Usually, ang uban ilan ni siyang gina-convert into a table format, no, para makita nila pila ang limit, ang ilang value, ang integer type, ang data type, and so on and so forth. Okay, so again, components of a traditional analysis model. Mao lang ni siya, natay data flow diagram, data definition, entity relationship diagrams, and process definition. Okay, so may paapas pa ko ha some guidelines in designing your context or your DFD. So we have questions in here. When do I stop drawing DFD and begin scripting? For example, when you can write a script that is less than a page to describe all the details of a given process. So mo to siya, balikan na to tong rule na to nga 7 plus minus 2. Walang to timanan para ma-set sa imong mind nga, uy, dapat na ako mag-stop kay sobra na akong process, especially kung naata sa DFD level 0. So, what if, ma'am, napakoy gusto nga process nga wala na ako napakita. So, dito na maabot tong imuhang expanded, no, nga level. Next, katong mga lower level na nga modeling. So, dito na ninyo ipakita nga, oy, kailangan pa dahil ni siya. Okay? So, another, there is no such thing as the one and only correct model. So, timan ilang nabasig maproblema ba kung tama ba ni akong gibuhat nga model? Wala siya tama, wala siya mali, no? But then there are good and bad nga models. So, basta timanan lang nato nga ang good model will be easy to understand by choosing functional processes and minimizing flow between them. It will also avoid some bad DFD syntactic structure. So, dapat lang gid i-analyze nimong tarong, no, nga para di ka magbuot-buot og butang ditog items nga wa day labot, unnecessary na day siya. Okay? What else? Okay, kamo na basa na. Things not to do. Use meaningless name like info. Control in the flow diagram. When we say flow diagram, ayaw pagbuhat diha og flow chart na nga naay ko anang sitawagan naay decision. So dili pwede nimo buhaton nga profit and then loss, sorry. Okay, dili pod ka magbuhat og flow chart. Ayun, walay control and then walay flow chart. Next. Okay, what else sa problem importante din hi? DFD must not conserve data. Processes cannot create data. Yeah. Stores cannot transform data. It should be processed. A process should not lose data. Data stores cannot create data. So, dapat si process ang mo create. Yeah. So, for naming, sa processes, usually verb that describes one activity and without end. Data flow, usually noun that identify data elements or documents in the data flow. Okay, mo lang na siya. I-upload ko na nga mga slides para mabasa ninyo. So, that would be all. Thank you so much for listening. So, by the way, napay mga kamunay basa ani, no, kung kanus ka mag-start sa imuhang data flow.